Hello, beautiful divine souls. Welcome. Thanks everybody for being here today. We are doing the play and hide and seek. Feel the freedom that comes with speaking your truth today. So welcome and thank you for coming and doing this delightful session and having this conversation. This is the 4th episode of Playing Hide and Go Seek. So we're very, very excited about that. And so there is a freedom that comes when we're able to always speak our truth, but that's not always the easiest thing to do, right? And then when we're withholding, how does that feel compared to having a freedom of being your soul, authentic self, and having the courage and having the strength and the understanding to being able to speak your truth, right? Coming from an intention of like pure love, pure acceptance. And when it comes to speaking, we always, we can go into that conditioned self of worrying about we're going to hurt somebody else or upset somebody else, or maybe they will think that they're better than us. But we put so much energy and life force into doing that all in the monkey mind, instead of just dropping it down to that heart center, our soul self, and being able to express. And in the divine, we have so much that supports us that way. So feel the freedom that comes from speaking your truth. Jacqueline, would you like to share on how that feels for you?
Well, it's taken me a long time to feel the freedom of speaking my truth, right? You talk about being conditioned, and I was conditioned in my family to be quiet, to be the people pleaser. There was no speaking my truth because I didn't know what my truth was. I was just barely surviving in this family where there were a lot of other loud people, a lot of chaos, and it was really hard. So that led me a life of feeling insecure, feeling worried to the point where you feel worry and fear in your body and your bones. And it took me a long time to figure out how to release that. First, I didn't even know that's what was happening. The very first time I was just about, I had started my own business and was networking. And just the fact of standing up in front of your peers and saying my name, what I do, would cause like dread in my body. Like I would sweat or I would stumble over my words. I mean, it was terrifying. And I had a conversation with my husband about it. And he's like, I'm not afraid of that. And I was like, why are you not afraid? Why am I so afraid? Um, so it took a lot of deconditioning, right? And it took years to figure it out, to find the right coaches, the right mentors, the right healing processes to get to the root cause of that and let go of that pattern. And now it's just fun to get out there and speak. There is a lot of freedom with that. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I think many can relate, right? Coming from a family where, you weren't taught or encouraged to use your voice to speak your truth. You might have been, like you said, everybody was loud, right? So it can make us feel small in that conditioned self. And we accept it to be our reality and real, when really it's a detour from our true selves, right? And yeah, I'm happy that you mentioned that you can feel like how you feel. You can feel, right, the restriction within what, like, it bubbles up and we don't always recognize or know.
We don't really know what's happening because nobody's telling us what's happening. We just think it's normal, right?
Yeah.
Because we've done it so long.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't know until we experience, right? Until maybe life gets us back on track to our true self, or we're guided that way through mentors or teachers or programs or workshops. And then we start connecting the dots. So thank you, Jacqueline. Alana, what is it like? Do you feel freedom that comes with speaking your truth?
like Jacqueline said, it's a journey. I still am evolving into feeling this freedom and allowing myself to really show up and shine and speak my truth. Oftentimes, it was just easy to hide it. And I got really good at just stuffing it down. And it's that slow burn, right? Over time, speaking up, sharing it, and someone shutting me down or trying to change it or telling me I shouldn't think that way or I shouldn't do this thing. And that's really the pattern I see we're all stuck in. You know, our brains are wired for survival, for negativity. People just naturally become toxic. They don't mean to, but it's like that's how your mom was, and then your grandma, and everybody. So to really have this excitement and want to share it, and then have somebody just basically squash you like a bug, you kind of learn to keep it in and not share it. And I think that's the big piece for me is I already know this pattern. I already know how this person's going to react. I'm just going to keep it in. And yet the piece that I want to share, the three of us being in the energy medicine solution book, the chapter I wrote about really explains my rage moment. And as much as we can shy away from anger and rage and all the big emotions, that already having that tumultuous volcanic eruption of anger and rage and just, I had so much of it stuffed inside of me. I didn't know. And to release that, that was my moment of true freedom. Like so much space, right? Because again, if I have all this stuff stuck in me since really at least infant, right? If we're already screaming when we come out of the womb and all of it, we just have so much that we bottle up and we hold in, we don't realize it. And then the release to just it's like the steamer, and when the steam starts to release, like that pressure has an exit. And that's what I think I know I felt in myself, but we all probably feel at some point just this pressure that's looking to release. We don't know how to do it. It comes out in a way that's not very pretty and it can be projected and reactive. And yet, if we can do it for ourselves in a space where people can hold you or you're just by yourself, then we finally get that release. And to me, that's when we have all this space inside of us. That's the freedom to just be, freedom to now realize I feel so much better. I feel so much calmer. I thought I knew what calm and peace looked like, but now that that shit's gone, oh, this is freedom.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. And that's exactly how I would describe it, using your voice, that freedom of release, right? That freedom. So yes, thank you, Alana, so, so much compared to bottling it up, right? And feeling like a heaviness, right? And doing it for many, many, many years. And then, like you say, it just becomes too much. And then when we finally do that, will it be, if it's bottled up, then it, like you say, it just explodes. It's just like steam going, or like a lid coming off a bottle, or right, like a really all of a sudden throwing out bricks at people, right? We're not being our truth if we're withholding and we're trying to camouflage or manipulate or become what we may feel that the other one would like us to become, right? Or be, so we appease. And actually, like you're speaking of, Jacqueline and Alana, it does more damage to all those bodies and systems. So yes, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, Alana. And Jacqueline, Alana just described the difference between her feeling of like, whew, not speaking her truth to have that freedom compared to how it does feel having that freedom. Is there something that comes to mind for you that way?
Well, you spoke a little bit about what happens when it when we don't release it, right? That absolutely ends up in physical pain. I work with a lot of people in physical pain, and the way out of that is getting in touch with our emotions, which we're kind of in a society that's like, I don't want to talk about my feelings. I don't want to go there. I don't want to talk about my anger, but it's stored inside of you, right? And then releasing that, hopefully it's not a volcano and nobody gets hurt when we release it, because it comes across in our tone, right? It comes across in our facial expressions. If we're not really being true to ourselves, if we're not complete freedom with that. But releasing all that, oh my God, there's so much space and energy and creativity and love and joy that is able to flow through you. And then you attract so many more things like that. There's so much more ease, flow, and abundance, and the amazing opportunities that show up when you're in that space, in that energy of just being you, really allowing your thoughts to come through, really allowing yourself to be seen and heard your way, which is a gift. That's what you came here to be and to explore. So it's really a beautiful thing when more people get to enjoy the freedom of speaking their truth and being who they are and not repeating somebody else's words.
It is so amazing and incredible. And like we've spoke about today, right? We're just conditioned. We might have came from a generation that women aren't to be seen or heard, or like a religion, or you got to cover up kind of thing, not speak unless spoken to, or you can't air that dirty laundry, or things like that aren't spoke about, or don't be saying that out loud because it's witchcraft, or I know for me, thank goodness I was supported with my family because I had cerebral palsy. So they were always like, be you and you get to. So through that, I was always able to speak my truth. If I just that, I'd say to them, Spirit shared me. I can't do this because Spirit shared and said, if I do this, then I'm not coming back. Or so I could always feel the vibration or the frequency of not my family, but others, right? Always thinking, well, that's crazy. That's out there. But for some reason, this in many situations did seem very strong for me, even though I was known as crazy or bizarre or scaring people. It always just came out. But where I withheld at times, I found, is because I could feel that judgment. So I didn't speak the full truth. But a lot of times, if you're doing things through your pure heart and pure intention, we can still get caught up in here. So looking to see, are we talking from like our head, or are we talking from what is in our heart? And for me, if I feel that I'm withholding or not sharing something, because sometimes we have to take our time to process and not just like necessarily right, or lash out, because like we've been talking about, we can be in touch with our feelings or not in touch with our feelings. So if we're not in touch with our feelings, right, we might always be showing like an iceberg that to everybody looks like we're angry or we're frustrated or we have resentment or we're going to lash out anymore. That's the tip of the iceberg. That's what's showing to people all the time. But there's so many different emotions underneath, right? So Alana, what you're talking about too is just like, we can explode in a way. You didn't say that exactly, like blow up, or we can, like Jacqueline and you both said, feel our feelings, be aware of them, and it does give so much more space in us, not to withhold and to be able to use that voice center and speak. It gives us a freedom. I know for me, if I'm not able to, I'm experiencing something that right away I won't be able to speak my truth, or I might make the decision and have the self-awareness that even speaking truth right now, I don't have to do it directly to that individual. I'll do it out in the woods, or I'll do it in a spiritual form. But if I'm holding it till I have that opportunity to do that, my neck is tight, my back of my neck, my shoulders, the front of me is tight, I have pain instantly in my body. And I can feel it getting tighter and tighter. And it feels like, you know how if we want to cry, a lot of us are taught, don't cry, it's a weakness, or don't cry, show that. But we can feel that like ball in our throat and like that tightening, and the tightening in our throat and our voice too. That's what not feeling the truth feels like to me. And if when I am speaking the truth, then I don't have that pain across my shoulders or in the back of my back, or that closure in my throat. I think it's beautiful. Like it is connected to that throat center, right? Which is all around being heard, being seen, feeling worthily, right? Feeling an existence, not feeling small, but empowered. So it does come with a freedom, which is an expansion when we do speak our truth. But we can get confused, I guess, on like if we're in that conditioned self, or are we not that authentic self? Are we doing things from the intention of pure love and pure acceptance with other individuals? Or are we doing it from that conditioned self, which maybe we've always like held it in, and then just lashed out and burst it, right? And then we feel bad and guilty and shameful because the situation has made us not ourselves, when speaking our truth can give us a beautiful freedom. And thinking of the word freedom compared to like restriction, right? Complete vibration and frequency, like feeling restricted, right? It feels like, ooh, it feels tight, compared to the word freedom, right? That vibration and frequency feels expansive and open, and making room for new things to come in. Is there anything else anybody would like to share?
I can add that we're trained to be so worried of hurting others that we forget that we easily hurt ourselves. Because just like you're describing, if you already know that you're holding all this truth in and you can feel the pain in your body, why do we do this? Why do we allow you to be okay and worried about how you're going to feel? And I think that's the bigger piece for me more and more on this journey. What are the filters that I've had that are of that layer? That I'm going to hurt you with my words, or you're going to be upset with my words. And of course, my truth is not your truth. It's just the nature of how this world works. Everyone has a totally different perspective. When I can honor myself, and my filter can be that hurt, rejection piece, where sometimes my truth really wants to share how I've been hurt, and yet it wants to come out in that hurtful way. So it's more of a dance of knowing, okay, I can feel sometimes the dread in my body, like Jacqueline mentioned, but like that adrenaline, the heart dropping, like, oh God, and more just like staying grounded, taking my space, taking a breath of air, breathing deeper to help then ask a question instead of coming out in defense or making a statement. I'm already going to set you off. Like, let's be honest. That's what I've learned in my life. It doesn't work. Let's change the pattern. Ask a question. Because oftentimes, what I am saying, you're not even hearing because you've got your own filters and you're already misinterpreting and changing the words and coming at it from a different place. Where if my heart was open, I really meant this, but you're going to tell me it was something else. And so, in this dance of like, oh God, they're responding. I did it again. I upset them. I'm now being in my body, making sure I'm not floating away, or this is where, again, fight, flight, or freeze. Like, what is your response? What's your reaction? I used to just kind of freeze and take it, and not respond and just be like, yep, and let you be right. It's not about
Yeah.
being right or wrong. It's about feeling in myself, is there something that I need to release? So, like you're saying, Sunshine, if my back is hurting, my voice is like shrinking, and there's that ball, how do I work to release it? And the more that I can stay grounded and calm and present, not always easy, but this is the work that I've been dancing in to get to this place. Now I can allow some of that rational perspective to come in and not just my emotional, all over the place energy. Meaning now I can ask the question and say, oh, I'm curious what I said that really upset you. And now I don't even have to make assumptions. I don't even have to go there, which is what we all do. Like, oh, it's probably this I said and whatever. But then we can talk about it and we can engage in a way that I can hold that space for you, as much as it's not supposed to be about you because I was speaking my truth, but I can still hold that space and allow myself to be able to share my truth,
Yeah.
you to start to feel, why does this upset you? And maybe we can have a conversation, or maybe we both realize, okay, right now we're upset, we're heated, let's take a break, let's come back. That is something we can do. We don't have to just slam the phone down or walk away because, ugh, I can't deal with you. Like all these things, they're just part of the filters that we've learned, we've seen from our parents, we've seen from friends, our partners. All of it has been part of that conditioning field that we get to release, because really, to feel the freedom, when I get to truly share where I'm coming from with, I have a pocket full of people that can actually just hold space, be quiet, not try and fix it, listen. Oh my gosh, the freedom that I just get to kind of ad lib and not have to be so constructed. There is that expansiveness of just letting all these pieces start to unfold in a way that now I know I'm being heard. And maybe this person does say, would you like any input? Would you like help fixing this? Or did you want me to just listen? Like, that's such a gold, because oftentimes, and especially as women, it's just part of our biology and our nature of, we just need to vent. We just need to get it out. We don't need problem solving from the male side. And, but then as women, we've all learned to try to be problem solvers too. But all of a sudden, just the freedom to just like let it flow
Yeah.
and then be done. Like, usually I feel so good.
And I think what you're talking about, Alana, is what we're trying to do. I know I've been trying to do it with my kids and my relationships, is learn how to communicate better and more efficiently. Because I've been trained to just, like you say, jump in, say, oh no, that's not it. You're feeling bad, and we got to fix that. We can't have you feeling bad. So,
Yeah.
or than me feeling bad, right? But to hold space for somebody and to voice their opinion is a really different way of like being in relationship with people. And it's a much more, it's as I've practiced doing that, it's just a much better, healthier way to have a relationship where I don't have to say, okay, you crossed a line, I'm writing your name down, and you're out, right? I can continue to have a conversation and a relationship with you and say, that's curious. I'm curious why you feel that way, right? Like, it's a different way of being with people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
definitely, for sure.
that's the expansion. That's
Yeah.
the freedom. We all are actually really truly seeking in our relationships and our communications. And
Yeah.
whether you are across the aisle on whatever topic, there's different perspectives, there's different truths, but most of the time we're just not even willing to open up and truly hold space and just listen, because we're already thinking of what we want to rebut with and come back and debate and say that you're wrong. And it's like, oh, okay, let's take a step back. Maybe we can just listen. Maybe we can use a timer. Maybe we can ask more questions.
Yep.
Yes. It can get so distorted and take so much energy, right? Even the discussion, right, can trigger so much in us, which is beautiful because it brings to our awareness, right? Something that we got to grow, we got to expand, we got to work on. And so what do we do, right? Like, I always think, okay, when something comes up, am I approaching a situation in my authentic soul self? Have I dropped to my heart? But I can't make anybody else drop to their heart when I'm talking or through their experience or their journey. All I can do is change me, right? Like, and center me. But sometimes being aware of your own energy or life force, we always think on that physical level that, okay, we're going to experience freedom by speaking our truth to an individual. But if they're in their conditioned self, if they're going to personalize it, if they're going to lash out, or if they're going to deny it to a certain degree, right? And we just think, well, we just can't. Maybe that's not your truth still is desired to come out. And maybe it's not the person that you're thinking, like you said, Alana, like you said, Jacqueline, we can get support from other places. And also, we can use our voice with oneself, right? We can go out into the woods. We can go on a hike. We can speak out loud. The situations happen, kind of thing. This is the way I'm feeling. This is right. Then we're seeking freedom that way too, as far as creating healthy boundaries, not only with that individual that may be involved, but the universe, right? You're creating healthy boundaries with the universe. You're speaking, you're putting it out. It's almost like, our inner talk that we have that can be critical, like it can be hard on ourselves, or maybe it's loving to ourselves, right? That has to align, that inner talk, and then our thoughts around our inner talk, and then what we speak on the outside of us. That's how we're built as divine souls, right? Everything, when we have the freedom to speak our truth, the universe listens and hears even to the thoughts. But once we speak it, we're bringing it forward, right? And the universe helps in that. So if we're restricted, then that's where the chaos, that's where the what is coming from, because we can't even feel freedom within ourselves, let alone like on the outside of ourselves. So that's what's kind of mirrored back. But I do experience a lot of times where I'm always one that I do need to speak my truth. And I wonder at times if I'm inappropriate with that, right? But that's that craziness or that whoa, what is she speaking about kind of thing. But I still do speak the truth. But if with an individual, if I'm like, whoo, they're too like, I have to process, or maybe they gotta, process too, or maybe no matter what, they're not going to hear, or I've tried speaking my truth, but I don't feel heard. I don't feel seen. I don't feel felt in any of that. So then it's like replaying that in the freedom of finding your own voice. So we can do it on a spiritual level. We can go and meditate, knock on that person's bubble and say, hey, can I come in? I'd like to meet you at a soul level. I'd like to talk to you, but use your voice, right? Speak to the wood, speak to a tree, speak to a flower, light a candle, talk to the candle. It doesn't, speaking your truth and having freedom with that doesn't mean person to person always, right? It can mean it's all in intention, which is a beautiful, incredible thing. But that's part of our conditioned. If I want to be heard, I have to be people to people. Or no, it's speaking that truth for us and having that freedom is connecting and knowing that we're heard outside of this human self too, right? That's how I look at it too. So, which is really good. Yeah, but thank you for being here.
I was just going to add,
Okay.
as a Pisces sun, I live in fantasy. And so I think I play that out sometimes. Like that's what I've done over my life, is sometimes like had that conversation, and really it wasn't so much to resolve it soul to soul, because I know that I actually need to do it more physically in this life. I have to have the conversation in person or bring it up, but it helps me to be more grounded in my awareness of why am I even upset and what are my points to bring up. Because if I don't really role play that or practice or really kind of, hash it out for myself, I won't know. And then I'll still come in kind of like, you did this thing, but I can't really articulate and I can't recall and I don't know the words to say. So I guess it's just like practicing for the role of like this confrontation we're going to have on camera. It's like this movie character and I finally, but I could always at least have more clarity. It would help me to then in the physical because it's going to come back or I need to not necessarily see it as that conflict or confrontation. Sometimes my body would still feel that it was going to be that way, but just to have that of mind, the ability to be more rational. I've already kind of processed my emotions off screen. And so now here I am. I don't have to really project it and put it on that person.
And that is like a key golden nugget, right? A lot of us think that to speak our truth, we got to do it right away. But we don't necessarily have to do it away, right? Process it, think about it. Was it triggering? Is there something that is a lesson here for me, right? To take that time. That is that inner awareness. That's going within. That's a beautiful thing to do, which is like a number one golden nugget of today, right? Like, have you taken time, right, Alana, to feel your feelings, to get a clear view, to make sure that you brought it through all your different bodies and systems and ground it and brought it back up into you, like a whole bunch of different things. That's what resonates, what aligns with, and we're all unique divine souls, so we're all different. Beautiful, beautiful, Alana. Thank you. Jacqueline, do you have anything to say before we go?
No, this is so enlightening, and I wish I had insight into this a long, long time ago, right? And so if you're watching and this is resonating, just know that first step is awareness, right? To become aware that that's what you're doing, that your body's reacting to what you're not letting yourself be, right? If you're holding down all that stuff and you're feeling pain, it could be that it really wants you to speak your truth, right? It wants you to get there. So just become aware of where you're speaking your truth and where you're not. And then why are you not speaking your truth in certain situations? And that will start the healing and the processing of this.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here today and doing deep dives, right, into the freedom of speaking our truth and the difference, right? Bottling it up, how that feels compared to having a newfound freedom around it. So thank you. Love you guys. Have a delightful day.
Bye.
Bye.